Oh, hello, beautiful people. I know you're beautiful because I can see you. I can see you in my mind's eye. So, that's why I'm saying hello, beautiful people. I just got out of church and feeling pretty inspired, to be honest with you. I got my super cool Starbucks coffee thermos Shannon got for me. She's so sweet like that. She does so many nice things for me. I can't even begin to tell you. My videos are long enough as it is. If I started talking about all the nice things she does for me, the video would never end and my phone would run out of disk space. So anyway, yeah, it's awesome. Not a big fan of Starbucks. Starbucks is kind of a evil, multinational, multi-billion-dollar globalist world government kind of a corporation, but anyway, they've got their you-know-what handed to them recently because of some of their world government activities promoting racism and oh, I learned a great word. Oh my gosh. There's this channel on YouTube, and there's also a couple of Facebook pages. I liked the Facebook page by the same name, even though I don't think the Facebook page has any association with the YouTube channel. Okay, you can follow that. That's not too complicated. Anyway, in both cases, the names of the channel and/or page, respectively, is called, or are called rather. Let's keep our grammar. Let's be grammatically correct here. They are both called theoria. Oh my gosh, now, Apophasis. That's it, I got it. I believe I got it. You can look it up and double check. Theoria Apophasis. Theoria Apophasis. Theroia. Theoria. Theroia. Theoria. Apophasis is Apophasis. Theoria Apophasis. Amazing. What an amazing word to know, apophasis. Theoria is just kind of like, okay, not that great, but it's okay. Theoria is simply philosophical inquiry. To the best of my understanding, at this point in time, that's what theoria means. Apophasis, this is the great word. You have to know this word, because this is how our world works, on the basis of this word. Apophasis means bringing to attention or highlighting something under the pretext of not mentioning it. Right? What does that mean? You know what it means. You know what even though that definition is not understandable, nevertheless, you experientially know what it means. You know what it means so well. And when I give you an example, you're going to be like, oh, yeah, I do know what it means. Okay, so here we go. But let me say the definition again, because the definition is convoluted and complex, and it's hard to wrap your head around without an example. But let me say it again, so when you hear the example, you'll be able to make a quick, you'll be able to make a solid connection between the example and the definition. So here's the definition again. The definition of apophasis is bringing to attention or highlighting something under the pretense or the pretext, we'll say pretense, under the pretense of not mentioning it. Okay? One more time, because I love to repeat things. I love to repeat myself. I'm a little bit too much in that respect, but I am obsessed with mastery. And the only way to master something is to repeat it. And like I said, I'm a little bit too much that way. And by too much, I mean that I don't progress. Because it's important to progress even if you haven't mastered. But it's important to master. Some people progress too quickly. They never master anything. I tend to not progress because I'm so obsessed with mastering. And it's a problem in that respect. So on both sides, there's like a pendulum where there's an extreme on both sides, just like everything else, right? But anyway, I'm going to repeat the definition again because this is such an amazing word. You're going to be so happy when you know this word. I think you will. I really think you will. That's my opinion. Apophasis. Apophasis is the bringing to attention or highlighting something under the pretext or the pretense, I prefer pretense, under the pretense of not mentioning it. Okay, so that's the definition. I messed it up, so I'm going to do it again. Apophasis is the bringing to attention or the highlighting of something under the pretense of not mentioning it. Okay? So, apophasis, like, for example, you're talking to somebody and you're saying, hey, listen, I just saw somebody, I just saw somebody walking across that courtyard and their pants fell down. And I don't want to mention Bobby's name, right? That's apophasis right there. I don't want to mention who it was. That's why I'm not going to say Bobby's name, right? That's apophasis. Now, why am I getting so crazy about apophasis when I'm talking about Starbucks and when I'm talking about coming out of church and being inspired? Why? Because that's the way the world works. That's the way they engage in mass psychological manipulation. It's always, almost always, a majority of the time, a large percentage of the time, I don't know if it's always a majority or a large percentage, where a large percentage could be anywhere from 30% to 70%. I'm not sure. But it's a lot. It's one of those three. I'm going to go with a large percentage because they have a lot of tools and strategies and techniques. So I'm just going to go with a large percentage. A large percentage of the time, they use apophasis in the interest of mass psychology and manipulation of the masses of the populations, right? So this is what I'm talking about when I'm talking about Starbucks. Starbucks had that big thing where you go in there and they're like, we want to talk to you about racism. So the pretense is we're against racism, right? Oh, but we're really promoting racism, right? Because what it is we've made all this racial progress. Okay, we've got an entire industry that thrives on racism. There's an entire industry of politicians and businesses and what are they called? Consulting agencies, marketing agencies. They're all based on conflict and with respect to racism. There's all kinds of conflict, but racism is like one of the biggest industries in terms of public relations and media interest and political causes. Racism, they thrive. I mean, they literally have financial interest in racism being prominent and continuing to exist. So they go out there and they act really slick. They use apophasis to promote racism. And that's what Starbucks is doing. Or did. They tried it. And the CEO got in trouble. He got fired. He had to step down. So, it's... And you say, but why Starbucks? Why this company? Why Google? Why Apple? Why all these Microsoft? Why all these big companies? It's because they're billionaires. And at that level, it's the same as it's always been in history. When you're 1,000 degrees of separation, separated from somebody else, then your interest and their interest have nothing in common. As a matter of fact, your interest could be so far into their interest that your interests are actually diametrically opposed. At the simplest level, and it might be, I'm sure it's more intricate and more complex and more, intricate and complex. I'm sure it's more than this, but at the simplest level, the elite profit when we suffer. Okay? The elite profit off of our conflict and our contention and our disease and our illness and our poverty and our struggle. They profit, right? Because as the population experiences peace and prosperity, okay, we prevent their ability to expand. Number one, expand, but more importantly, number two, consolidate their power and control. Everybody wants to consolidate. Everybody wants to consolidate, okay? Again, simplest example. You have a yard, you need to have your yard cut. Okay, well, okay, let's go buy a lawnmower. Okay, I got a lawnmower. Okay, now you got to buy gas. Okay, all right, and now I got to buy oil for the gas, for the lawnmower. Okay, got it. Oh, now the lawnmower needs repair. Okay, I got to fix the lawnmower. Okay, I have to buy a new lawnmower because lawnmower wears out. I have to make arrangements for having the lawn cut when I can't cut it because I'm sick or out of town. Okay, well, I got to find somebody to cut the lawn. Now, what's much, I don't want to say smarter because some people like to cut the grass and it's a healthy thing to do. It's good for you. Still struggling with this chest cold. So what's a much, let's just put it this way. Avoid all qualitative assessment of the situation. What's a way to consolidate that goal? You hire somebody to cut your grass. It's simple, right? Now that guy has to worry about the lawnmower, the gasoline, the oil, the repairs, what to do when he's sick or when he, is on vacation or whatever. All you have to worry about is cutting the guy a check. I mean, that's a low. It's not the lowest, but it's a low level of example of consolidation. That principle applies all the way up the chain of human experience. Everybody wants to consolidate. Let's say, for example, you get a bigger house. You have a lawn that needs to be taken care of. You have a house that needs to be cleaned. You have cars that need to be maintained. You have laundry that needs to be done. You have this, all these things. What's a way to consolidate? Hire a personal assistant. All right? The personal assistant takes care of all your details. All you do is cut the personal assistant a check. That's it. If you never hear from a personal assistant, you're all the happier because that's one less thing for you to deal with. So that's another example of consolidation. So consolidation. When the population is constantly like the cells of a body dividing and growing, and all these new all these new centers of strength and power and wealth are popping up. What happens to the people at the top? Their life just becomes more and more complicated, more and more unpredictable. It's like, I've got this under control. There's some guy over here. Now he's threatening my insurance business. You got hospitality, insurance, food, agriculture. You got all the. You're a multi-billionaire. You don't have a successful business. You have a successful array of businesses, right? Maybe you're like Warren Buffett and you're like a portfolio manager. You just own things. That's all you do. That's how you got rich, by owning things, right? So you just own these things. Now you want to manage these things, or you want to consolidate. So that's what it is. It's not like these people have devil's horns. It's not like they're innately evil, although they are, but they didn't start out that way. They became innately evil because of the choices they made along the way, but they didn't start out that way, right? But so if you take 5 people and put them down the same path of going from zero to billionaire, those 5 people are going to make different decisions along the way, and those decisions are going to put them in different camps of where ultimately, it's like the Tao. It's like the teachings of the Tao, or the yin and the yang. Everything ultimately ends up under one of 2 categories: good or evil. Ultimately, right? And I'm not saying every one, because we can't judge, but everything, right? I can't judge Warren Buffett's heart, but I can judge his and Bill Gates and Melinda. I can't judge their hearts, but I can judge their their politics and their views and attitudes about humanity, and I can judge that. So, but again, they might be decent people, but they've made some extraordinarily evil choices with respect. With respect to how they handle this world and what their view of the world is, what their view of humanity, and what their view of their role in this world and with respect to humanity is. If their view is a view of control and power and over other people and keeping other people out of the market so that they can maintain their consolidation and their see, that's evil. That's just evil. See, no matter what you have, I don't care if it's $1 or $1 trillion. If God asks you to give it up, okay, we have a duty to the sovereign, whatever you want to call him. He's the president of the presidents, the prime minister of the prime ministers, the king of kings, the lord of, whatever you want to call him, the CEO of the CEO, whatever. If the big guy, if the head cheese calls you to give it up, you got to give it up. Because we're called to live our lives like a flock of birds, I believe. You know what they say about a flock of birds, like that the first bird cuts the hardest trail through the air. And that makes flying easier for all the birds behind him, right? But that bird in front, okay, he's going to get naturally, obviously, he's going to get tired. So he's got, at any moment in time, he's got to be willing to fall back and let somebody else lead. Fall back, somebody else lead. Fall back, somebody else lead. That's the way we've got to live our lives. And that to me is the testimony of Job. Job was the richest man. Okay, maybe not. Actually, a deeper reading of Job causes us, I believe, if you really read Job with a fresh mind, okay, and walk away from everything you've ever been taught about it, just read it with a fresh mind. I think you'll come to the conclusion is Job is not the saint that everybody talk, in cliche world. He's not the saint that everybody talks about. It's different. Job didn't give up everything he had it taken from him, right? So there's the distinction. That's what I mean about him not being the saint that everybody thinks about. He didn't give it up. But that's what I believe our heart has to be. Whether it's $1 or $1 trillion, and we got to be willing, like that 38 special song, hold on loosely, but don't let go. There's nothing wrong with wanting to keep what you have and defending what you have. It only becomes wrong when your defense crosses the line from godliness to sin. When your defense of what you have crosses the line from being a healthy appreciation and a strong moral, ethical defense that doesn't lack integrity in terms of technique, motivation, tactics, okay, when it crosses the line from that over into like a nasty, mean, malevolent, covetous sickness, right? That's it. That's the line. And how many? I mean, listen. When you're a billionaire, it's like literally a line. I mean, you don't really have to put your hands on anybody. You don't have to do anything ugly. All you have to do is convey your desires and intentions to your assistants. And they do the ugly work. And maybe you let them know, hey, I don't want you to do anything ugly because what you do reflects on me. So that ugly thing that I want done, get it done. But get it done in such a way that none of it was traceable or reflects back to us. Right? That's what the life of a billionaire is. It's like the Bible says that we're created in God's image, right? I don't think we understand or appreciate the depth of that concept, right? The Bible says that God spoke the universe into existence, right? And that's the way it is for us when we achieve a certain level of success, carnal, worldly successes. We don't have to do anything anymore. We don't have to send anybody an email. We don't have to sign. We don't have to write out instructions. We don't have to sign our name. We don't have to do anything. All we have to do is say, do it. We don't even really have to do that. We just raise our finger. I mean, your assistant knows what you want. That's why they're your assistant. Your assistant knows what a nod to the left means as opposed to a nod to the right. Your assistant knows what it means when you put your finger on the side of your face. Your assistant knows. Okay, so that's the way it is for these guys. That's why godliness is so critical, because when you get to that level, as you go up and up and up and up and up the level, the decision between good and evil is undiscernible to anybody outside your own spirit. Only you know what you're doing, you and your assistant, right? Those people that are closest to your inner circle. Only you and your inner circle know what you're doing. Nobody else knows. Because nobody else knows what a head nod means. Nobody else knows what the implication is of you buying a company or shutting down a company. You know? Of you making a phone call to a certain person somewhere, in power or not in power. Nobody knows. That's why godliness is so important. And that's why God, I believe, keeps us from being successful, is because we are not prepared in terms of godliness for the success. We might use it for evil, and evil is injurious by definition. Evil is injurious by definition. It either hurts other people or it hurts us, or both, right? So God, there's an amazing verse in Isaiah where it says, the good were taken away, but you do not understand it, because they were taken away to be spared what everybody else is going to be exposed to. So God protects us, but He protects us in ways that when we see them happening, it's like it doesn't look like protection to us. It looks like punishment, right? When God doesn't give us that $1 million or whatever it is that we pray for, I mean, I don't know. I'm just war gaming. But this is what I'm thinking, and that's why I think it's so important to pursue godliness in the small things, because the more powerful we become, the more powerful the small things become, right? The small decisions, like I said, the finger on the side of the face. Your assistant knows what that means. Your assistant can read you. Your assistant knows what you want. Maybe you don't even have to do anything. Your inner circle just knows, and they do it because it's their job to implement your will. You see how sensitive that is? See how amazing that is? I mean, to me, it just blows my mind. So, what I really want to talk about today is not really any of that. I don't know really how I got off on all that, but what I really want to talk about is non-Christians in heaven. And just to cut to the chase, okay? Just to cut to the chase, I'm going to say this, that after a lot of time and thought and prayer and meditation, I've come to the conclusion that there will most certainly be Hindus, Muslims, Buddhists, Christians, atheists, Satanists, agnostic. There will most certainly be all kinds of people in heaven. I've come to that conclusion. But in order for me to say that, of course, we have to agree to the paradigm of what we have been taught heaven is. And there is no guarantee that paradigm is accurate. But for the sake of this conversation, to keep it from just like splintering off in 1,000 different directions at one time, we're just going to assume that paradigm is correct. Okay, that there is a heaven and hell. You die, you go to heaven, or you go to hell, and that whole paradigm is accurate. Okay, for the sake of this conversation, it might not be accurate, but for the sake of this conversation, we're just going to assume that it is. But here's what I base that conclusion on. The Bible says quite explicitly that, Jesus said quite explicitly that in that day many will say to me, Lord, Lord. I will say to you, depart from me. I don't know you. You got nothing to do with me. I got nothing to do with you. You're over here saying, Lord, Lord. What the heck, man? What is that? You don't have anything to do with me. Is this a joke? When you say Lord, Lord, is that some kind of a joke or something? Oh, no, I understand. You are saying Lord, Lord, because you get it now, and now you want what you never wanted before because now you get it. Okay. Well, no, that's not how this works. Okay? So, my conclusion on that is that if it is true that there are people running around saying, Lord, Lord, but they have no idea what they're saying. And they got nothing to do with the actual Lord. Okay, they're just saying it because they want to put on pretenses and pretend, and they want something. That's why they're doing it. They want something. They're not doing it to actually honor the Lord. They're not doing it to actually give glory and credit to the Lord. They're doing it because they want something. Okay, so if there are people who will not be getting into heaven, even though they look like Christians, then I've come to the conclusion that it must also be true that there are people. Logic. This is just a logical puzzle. There must also be people who will be getting into heaven who don't look like Christians. Okay? Now, as I have contemplated this further, and this thing's about to shut off because it's maximum of 30 minutes. But as I have contemplated this further, I have come to the conclusion that Jesus' kingdom, like he told Pilate, the Roman emperor or Roman ruler, whatever his title was, governor or whatever, he told Pilate, my kingdom is not of this earth. In other words, Jesus' kingdom is not an institutional kingdom. Jesus' revolution was not an institutional revolution. Okay? It was a spiritual king. It is a spiritual kingdom. It is a spiritual revolution. There's a very interesting verse in Isaiah, I think it is, where it goes something like, this king, I think it's Assyria, this king will not prevail because his horses and chariots are but flesh. They are not of spirit. So in other words, the real power is in the spirit. The real power is in the spiritual realm. If the only thing you have to confront the kingdom of anything, basically, if the only thing you have is flesh, muscle, money, armies, blah, blah. If that's all you got, then you're destined to failure, because it's not spirit, right? It's not, it's not. Now, if you have all that plus spirit, that's a different story. But if all you have is that worldly stuff, then you're destined to failure and destruction. Okay, so anyway, that's a cool verse in Isaiah. So getting back to Jesus, spiritual kingdom. I've come to now, for me, an institution is a parameterized piece of, for lack of a better word, the ether. Like something that starts here, that ends there. It's something that has quantitative quality. To speak a little bit in the terms of my, and the lexicon of my new YouTube friend, I don't really know him, but I've been loving his videos and loving this guy because I think he's cool. Theoria, Apophasis, right? Quantitative quality, quantitative property. Okay, an institution, anything has a quantitative property. Like every institution says, okay, this is what we do. We start here, we end here. Our ministry starts here, it ends here. Our services start here. Our products start here and here. We make widgets. We don't make those other things, those poppers. We don't make poppers. We only make widgets. We serve children. We don't do drug addicts. It's like, so it's quantitative property. It starts somewhere and ends somewhere. That's an institution. Right? That makes, to me, the smallest instantiation of an institution. That makes the smallest instantiation a word. Now, as I've learned more about things, I've seen that, wait a minute, maybe the word isn't the smallest instantiation, because you can go down to letters, and then when you start learning about the origin of language, it's like, oh wow, every piece of a letter, You start looking into learning about where letters came from. It's like, oh my goodness. Actually, every piece of it, you can break letters down. But again, for the sake of the conversation, let's just say that the smallest instantiation of an institution is a word. If you think about it, a word, and this thing's about to cut off, so I'm going to stop and then start a new one.